Welcome to the Phoenix Prosperity Podcast, where wealth meets legacy. Join your host, Tim Fergestad, as we explore the journeys of Phoenix's finest to success and beyond.
All right. Hello, this is Tim Fergestad. Thank you for joining us. I'm very pleased to have Roger Hurni with me here today. I have a big bio for you. Can I get into it and then we'll talk about and flesh it all out?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
All right. There's a lot of great stuff here. Okay. Roger is an innovative entrepreneur, highly regarded behavior strategist, and a renowned branding expert who has significantly impacted the field of marketing and communication over a distinguished career. As the founder of Off Madison Avenue and Lighthouse PE, Roger has established a unique niche for himself, providing a distinctive perspective on organizational challenges and opportunities. Roger's work in behavioral marketing has enabled him to achieve outstanding results for his clients by deciphering human behavior and transforming insights into actionable strategies. Roger's career includes collaborations with iconic brands such as ABC Network, Nike, DoubleTree Hotels, Starwood Hotels, PF Chang's, PetSmart, Safeway, the list goes on. He has been acknowledged for his exceptional contributions to the industry. Roger's received numerous prestigious awards and holds several esteemed board positions. His first book just came out, Outthink, Outperform, Transform Your Organization Through Behavior Marketing, was released earlier this year. Welcome to the show, Roger.
Thank you very much. It sounds like I've done a lot or I'm very old. It's one of the two things or both.
Yeah, they're not mutually exclusive.
That's very, very true. Well, thank you for having me on the show, Tim.
Excellent. Well, congratulations on your book.
Thank you.
Do you want to start there and then go back into how everything culminated in that work, or?
Sure. I'm happy to do that. The book is a labor of love. It took almost 2 years, about 20 months, delayed because of a serious bike accident that I had that I was out of commission for 3 months. I'm fine now. 8 broken ribs, broken collarbone in 4 places, collapsed lung, a month in the hospital. I know it was rough.
It's brutal.
It interrupted the launch. It was actually supposed to be out in April of this year. It just launched finally last month, and it's going really well. And the book focuses on behavioral marketing, and a lot of people don't understand what that might be, because it can be applied to, since behavior is universal, it can be applied to an individual, can be applied to an organization. Sure. Most of the stories in there are from personal experiences or observations of what other companies have done. And I wrote the book, if give me a minute, I wrote the book because there are a lot of books out there on leadership, like how to show up to work, how to lead with empathy, how to do active listening. And there's a lot of other books out there like Traction, where they teach you operational systems like the EOS system or Petra. Or there's behavioral economic books that explain why people do things, but they don't teach you how to think through a problem, how to solve a problem from a lateral perspective. And this book gives you a very, very simple formula on how to analyze human behavior and help shift customer behavior for your company.
Okay. And I imagine lateral behavior, or that trying to get into the head of your client, right, or prospective client.
Well, what you do is you examine really first the motivations of your audience, and you determine what that motivations ebb and flow. But you want to find an audience that has a high level of motivation to perform a behavior. I mean, there's a couple of things with behavior science is that I can't manipulate anybody into doing anything. You know, if you don't want to run a marathon, I'm never going to get you to run a marathon. I can't shift that behavior. But if you really enjoy running and you run a lot of, say, 10Ks, and that's a goal of yours, I can help shift your behavior to a point where you can eventually run a marathon. And marketing is very much the same way. No company can actually force anyone to buy a product. But there are audiences out there who would love to buy the product, and there's another subset of audiences who think they might want to buy the product because it helps them in some way. Behavioral marketing steps in to help look at those motivations, find the right prompt to get them to do that by increasing their ability to perform the behavior that that company wants.
Okay.
And the book really focuses on that process and how to think through those situations.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. Sounds very useful. And it sounds like you have a lot of actionable steps in there and so forth. That's awesome.
Yeah, I highly recommend it.
Yes, yes, yes. All right. Do you have a copy of it nearby? You can show the.
You know what? I don't. I'm in a room where I can't just go grab it. It would really
No
disrupt the podcast. But
okay. So this is the result of your endeavors in different projects and companies over the years. Do you want to talk a little bit about how you got into marketing and some of the bigger highlights of maybe off Madison Avenue?
sure, absolutely. Um, I actually got exposed to advertising when I was 12. And I'm obviously a way back machine. My stepfather's son was an art director in New York for ExxonMobil, little company. And when I was in high school, I ended up having an art teacher who had also been an art director at one point for some agency. And they gave me the basics. But between the two of them, I realized very quickly this is something I could go do for a living. I love to draw and I love to come up with ideas. And at the ripe old age of 19, one of the largest agencies in the Southwest, a company named Phillips Ramsey, plucked me out of school because they saw my portfolio and said, "Hey, we'd love you to come work for us." And I ended up working on a couple of little tiny pieces of business. One was a little hotel that was just getting started, had like 8, 9 units, and another one was this little pet food store, it had like 4 or 5 units. And I was part of the marketing team that helped grow those businesses. And then the pet food store changed the name and rebranded. Well, those two accounts ended up being DoubleTree and PetSmart.
Nice. Wow.
And it gave me a lot of exposure into how things were done and how you can grow a business. And it eventually led me to McCann Worldwide in San Francisco. I'd done freelance work for a very famous agency called Chiat Day. And then turning all of those experiences after helping grow a couple of other agencies as creative director, took all those experiences, and 25 years ago, and I'm going to really date myself, I started off Madison Ave, and
Okay.
it's done really well. I started the agency because I wanted to be able to serve great clients and be able to bring to them the ideas that they can't afford from really large agencies. Plus,
Okay.
being in a 500-person shop, it's no fun. Honestly, it's just, there's a lot of politics. You don't get to know everybody. Having a company of 40 or 50 people, it's a great size. You know, you can do a lot of great
Okay.
work and you can work on some great brands and you get to know everybody. And it's just a better
Different
atmosphere.
culture. Okay. Okay. So you were out in San Francisco, but then you had Madison Avenue you started. Did you go back out east? Was this back in New York?
No, the agency's name, the agency off Madison Ave started actually from a bifurcated approach to naming the company. One was, I'm from New York originally, although I never actually worked in New York. I worked in San Francisco, LA, and I did a lot of work for McCann London. But I had big Madison Avenue kind of experience.
I see.
But the other part of that is more important. It's a philosophy. While Madison Avenue is typically the place where agencies started and ran global brands for decades,
Right.
off Madison was the non-traditional way of approaching advertising and trying to stay a step ahead of the curve. And we've done some things that were very innovative over the year that now are just commonplace. When we started, we eliminated something called job jackets and we went to a server-based system for all of our workflow. That was completely never heard of. We started with digital marketing in 2003 and 4 before it was a thing. We started social media in 2005 and 6 when POR was a thing. I remember being at South by Southwest when Twitter was announced, and we were snagging all the handles of agencies that were our nemesis.
Okay.
And then
Excellent.
in 2012, before the whole thing was an influencer campaign, we started doing influencer work with Condé Nast. And we've always found a way as off Madison Ave to just to stay a step ahead of what's happening next. And we even started our own AI outreach company, which now eventually became Lighthouse BE in 2015. And now
Okay.
AI is a big thing. So Off Madison represents that ability to look down the road and see what's
Right.
happening next and weigh whether or not it's something that makes sense for clients.
Okay, I love it. That's very similar to actually the rationale behind my private real estate company, Oak Street Assets, right? It was not Wall Street, it was Oak Street, and it not kind of like Main Street, right? It was
Right.
alternative, different philosophies. So let's talk a little bit about your philosophy there about innovation, maintaining innovation. How do you do that in your industry, and with as trends change and stuff? How do you keep that culture, or create an environment that fosters that?
Well, it all does absolutely start with culture. Um, if your company doesn't have a good culture and you don't hire on that culture, uh, those culture core values, if you don't fire on those culture core values because people aren't living up to them, you're never going to be successful. I mean, you'll have moments, but they're all transactional. And so if when we started out, I didn't want to be the stodgy old agency. And we had a lot of problems at some of those agencies where there was a lot of tribalism, friction between departments. And so we said, okay, well, there's some things that have to happen here, no matter what. One of them is respectful collaboration. If we can't all feel like everyone contribute to the idea, regardless of what a job title says, regardless of your background, your acumen, then that's not a healthy environment for everyone to contribute to making the idea as good as it can. Everyone needs to have an entrepreneurial spirit. And that means being inventive and thinking laterally and solving the problem from different perspectives. It doesn't necessarily, you should go start a company, although I've had plenty of staff actually go off and do that. And we've been very, very supportive of them. And if that's what you want to do, that's great. But there's all these little things that you can invent within the context of the company, different processes or different ways of looking at things that help clients in terms of problem solving. Craftsmanship is really critical. We used to have a saying at Chiat/Day, or Chiat/Day still has this, and honestly, I've just ripped it off over the years with my own staff. Said, good enough is not enough. And not that means you're going to fall on your sword every single time, but you're going to pick those opportunities where you have to push it a little bit further. You have to,
Right.
refine something or create a new. And there
Excellence
has
isn't
what ahead.
excellence often isn't some big new thing. It's just a little better. It's consistent higher performance.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the other couple of things that were in there are just, and I think this goes to your question. And of all of them, believe it or not, I think this is the real one, is curiosity. My father instilled within me being a lifelong learner. And if you're not curious, if you don't want to continue to learn, it's really difficult to be innovative. So and that curiosity just isn't the skill set, right? It's other areas of expertise and personal development.
Sure.
And I've been fortunate enough that, we've gotten people who play in a rock band, or one of my employees when in college traded foreign currencies at night for extra cash. They were just curious about learning other things. And that's really helped spur the innovation part to your question. And then our last core value is a positive mindset. We try to start every conversation with yes. And this even goes to our clients. Yes, I will try to help you. Yes, I can help you. It may not be me. I might not be the solution, but I'm happy to find you the solution that you need to solve the problem.
Okay. Yeah, those are all great values. I totally appreciate it. I imagine you can foster an environment that supports curiosity and stuff, but I don't know if you can really teach curiosity. Do you have to hire somebody with that skill, or?
No, you hire for core values, you teach skills.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So
curiosity is a value.
absolutely. So everybody that we interview for this agency, they might go through 4, 5, 6 interviews. Generally, I'm the last interview is sort of a, double check, gut check on things. but we have a series of questions that we ask that those core values are somewhat apparent. And I'm not saying it's bulletproof. I mean,
Sure.
we've had 400 people plus come through these walls in the last 25 years, but I can count on two hands the amount of people that were definitely a mistake. Like in the first 90 days, you go, oh yeah, that did not, like, what were we thinking? Like this person either was snowed us or we were just misread the situation, and that's going to happen. But, that's way less than 10%.
Yep.
I don't think that's bad odds. That puts us in the Hall of Fame playing baseball.
That's right. That's right. Awesome.
Yeah.
So looking ahead, what trends excite you in your industry, right? So how are you preparing to leverage them for your own impact?
Well, what we started with Lighthouse PE, which was a product of the agency and has since being spun out into its own company, we started with a machine learning algorithm, so a taxonomy AI, which just is basically like software that says, if this happens, then go do this, right? There's an automation process to that. And because of ChatGTP, we were able to retool that to be ontology based, which looks at information that doesn't seem related and finds those correlations to determine what the next interaction should be for a customer. And so I see that as being a really big deal. I mean, everybody is talking about AI today. I actually just wrote an article for Forbes that will be out in a few weeks, because I've seen that on this trend, there are people who are afraid for their job, or they think it's going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. And there's a little bit of in between where people are like, okay, let me dabble, and I'm not sure what to do with it or where to start with it. It's not really artificial intelligence. Not as you and I actually understand artificial intelligence. It's not sui generis. It's not a sentient being. It's human interpretation of existing data.
Right.
And so I've told people, I'm like, if you reframe it, which is one of the great things about behavioral science, if you reframe something, it can be more acceptable or more understandable by an audience. If you reframe it as artificial interpretation, as AI, and approach it at least from that perspective, then you don't have to be so afraid of it. You can use it as the tool that it's meant to be to help you do all sorts of things. And while we know and have seen in all kinds of articles that it's research, it can help you write this, it can help you, do a voiceover for something, and that's all wonderful. I think the real hinge pin with AI is going to be approaching it from a human-centric perspective. Right? I mean, we're doing a podcast right here. You could easily take my voice, throw it into an AI, and have me say whatever it is you want to go say.
Oh, I'm gonna.
Feel free.
I'm kidding, by the way.
I'm not afraid. But when you hire someone to do a voice for you, what they bring to that performance is their rich background, their interpretation of the character, those pregnant pauses, those nervous laughs. The AI can't do that. I mean, you could ask it to mimic that, but it doesn't come across genuine,
right?
Because it's not true artificial intelligence. But to your point, that trend is overshadowing everything. And I understand why. I think it's going to be one of those things that you are on board and understand how to work with this and be better at it than everybody else, or you will be out of a job.
Right. That's it's insightful approach to adopting these new technologies and learning these new skills. Particularly if they may be outside of one's comfort zone, right? Is perspective, I think, helps a lot.
Well, I mean, anybody can write a prompt that says, write me a brand story about my product based on this demographic.
Right.
That's easy. I think what ChatGTP or Claude or Gemini might spit out is going to be fairly generic and benign, but there's not going to be that human context to it. There's not going to be the richness to it, the complexity to it. And through thought sequencing kinds of prompts where you can actually teach the AI the outcome that you want while you're asking simpler questions, you're going to find you're going to get a much better outcome. Well, that person who can do that is going to be more valuable to the company than somebody who can just throw in a simple one-sentence prompt and start to
Sure.
use that copy.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm actually taking back to your book now, because what really connects with people, right, and when you getting them right, is the human element. I think that's going to stand out even more as we go forward. I think I think people start to crave genuine uh, perspective and insight and connection between actual people.
Absolutely.
And I think your book is talking about understanding what emotions and things drive the behaviors of people is going to be even more important.
Yeah. And again, that's universal. So you don't have to be the CEO of a company or even the head of the company. You could be one of the people in the trenches every day working. And when you're working on a project, being able to analyze the motivations of the people around you, the people that
Yes.
you're working with, the outcomes that they're seeking or the aspirations that they're seeking will help you perform your job much better, because you can decipher how you can increase their ability to take on your ideas,
Right.
and prompt them along the way.
Right. Which is, would you say that's a type of emotional intelligence?
It is because you're going to need some of that to help determine motivation. But it is both. I mean, it is a left brain, right brain kind of approach.
Okay.
And I know some people are much better at one than the other, but the formula is fairly simple. And the book lays out very simple ways of going about it. May I tell you like one short story from the book?
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I run a behavioral marketing boot camp with my staff every once in a while. It'll be like 5-6 weeks long, a couple hours there on a Friday. And I teach them how to work with different kinds of behavioral models and how to sort of decipher all this. And a lot of this is in the book. But there's this one story my editor really loved that she said, I think you absolutely have to keep this in the book because it synthesizes the entire book down into this one small thing about donuts. And I'm like, yeah,
Perfect.
absolutely. Yeah.
Perfect.
So after one of these behavioral boot camps that I ran with my staff, a few weeks later, one of my staff, Jessica, sent me a Slack message on a Thursday around a little after 4 that said, FYI, tomorrow's National Donut Day. Now, I'll be honest with you, I had no idea if it was National Donut Day or not. And the next day at 9, and this is right before COVID, so go back 5 years. Next day at 9 a.m., I walk into the office and I bring in a couple of dozen donuts for the staff. And Jessica saw me do that, walks in the kitchen, goes, wow. She goes, this behavioral marketing, your approach to behavioral science, like really works. I'm like, I don't know, like, what are you talking about? Dumbfounded. She goes, based on what we learned, I assume that you had a high level of motivation to keep the staff happy. We do great work for clients. We make the company money. We make you money. Like there's a level of motivation to ensure that we're really happy at work. I'm like, go on. And she said, I assume that you had enough ability to actually perform the behavior I was hoping you would perform because you have a car, you have a credit card, there's probably a donut shop on the way to work, all these elements she considered. So she said, the trick was figuring out how to prompt you in the right way. And I thought about sending you an email, but emails can get buried. If I sent you a text message, it might seem too obvious. She goes, but Slack seemed to be like a really good way of sending you a message without it feeling too urgent or could be buried. A direct message on Slack. And then I knew Mondays wouldn't be good. Things were happening. Things are kind of crazy on Tuesday, Wednesdays. I'm like, Fridays are always a more relaxed day. So Thursday would be a good day to prompt. If I prompted Friday morning, that might seem too obvious. But Thursday afternoon, while you're still working, before you're ready to get home, seems like something you'd pay attention to. So I mean, she really analyzed it out. And she figured out the right time for a prompt. She knew I had all the ability, or she would have increased the ability by giving me a gift card or something else like that. And she understood that I had a certain level of motivation, a high level of motivation to make sure the staff was happy. And it worked. The behavior she wanted to see is, I'd like to have Roger bring in donuts tomorrow. And that's, in essence, that's what you're doing whenever you're working with any one of those customers that you have as a brand.
Yep. That's a great story. And it requires patience for someone who's hungry, but yes, it's
Well, I mean, like anything, I mean, often in marketing, um, people think that you can just throw out information and that will change people's behavior, and information never changes anyone's behavior. Um, what changes people's behavior is helping them do what they already want to do. And you can help them do that by making it as easy as possible for them to do that, and then prompting them at the right time. Quite frankly, it's a very simple formula. And for a lot of people who are really good at it instinctively, they're just not conscious of it. And so I try to take what is an instinctive process for people who are really talented and make it a conscious process for everybody to think through problems that way.
Awesome. That's fascinating stuff. Thank you, Roger. So
You're welcome. I appreciate it.
So this is the Phoenix Prosperity Podcast. It sounds like things are going really well for you. What are you doing on a personal and or professional front to keep that prosperity moving forward, right? What are your investing goals? Are you investing heavily in the business? What are your sort of like your legacy plans?
Well, you're always investing in the business. I hope the company is around for a lot longer than I am. And so a big investment in the business is having a great operating system, having amazing people really run and operate the business every day. I'm not an owner operator per se. I'm out as the face of the company and doing things. And I'm not saying that there are small businesses that you want to own and operate. That's great. It's just not super scalable. Plus all your time is going to sucked up. So it's allowed me to do some other projects. I mean, sitting on the board of like the Cronkite, it says, the Walter Cronkite Endowment Board at ASU. I'm mentoring students. I'm going out and helping small to mid-sized companies and teaching them on how to look at the few dollars that they have and how to make them as most effective possible for the best ROI in terms of marketing. And outside of that, I'm getting my kids into college this year and next year and traveling. I try to put a lot back into the bank. I believe that understanding the human condition is a great way to be able to problem solve. And, I love to do that through travel and studying other languages and putting myself in uncomfortable situations.
Awesome. All great things.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's a great answer. It's I have 2 kids in high school too right now, so I feel you.
Wait, you have a boy and a girl, or two
Yep.
girls, boy and a girl?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know about you, but teenage girls are a lot easier, in my opinion, than teenage boys. I mean, I love my son, but sometimes just want a little wring their neck.
Well, there's that.
He's a great kid. He's a great kid. Let me just say that.
Right. But my wife comments about this too, because apparently girls are mean and there's drama, and so I was waiting for all this girl drama through the teens. So far, and my wife is surprised too. The boys seem to have more drama than the girls.
Yeah,
I didn't see coming.
Yeah, teenage boys with most of my friends, my general opinion is they all have attitude. They think they know everything and they start talking back. And I know girls can have drama. I haven't really experienced that with my daughter. She's been pretty focused. Maybe because she's a 2nd degree black belt in Taekwondo and, been doing that since she was like 6 years old. And so she's very, I've got a plan, nurse,
And she kind of is comfortable with herself, knows herself and knows.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Confident.
18 seasons, watching 18 seasons of Grey's Anatomy made her want to be a travel ER nurse. And so we'll see how that goes. That's what she's going to be going to college for. So.
Okay. All right. Very cool. Very cool. Okay. Well, okay. So we touched on a lot. I have like some closing questions, and you've already talked about all this great stuff. You're on the board at ASU. You got a lot of local impact. You're doing all sorts of great stuff. Looking forward to what's next for you. Any exciting goals or projects on the horizon?
I'm currently doing what's next with an asterisk. What's next for me was getting this book out the door. Okay. I thought writing it, I was going to Europe last summer at the end of July, a year ago. And I literally remember writing the last sentence of the book going, I'm done. Little did I know that writing the book is half the battle or less. there's all these other things you have got to do with a publisher and promoting the book and everything. But when we were talking through how we interpret some of the material in the book and what that would look like for speaking engagements and things like that, I actually threw out, here's how I would interpret a particular thing around artificial intelligence, something a little different we talked about. And they said, that's your next book. We need to get started on your next book. So now my next book I will this summer sometime, I will actually get started on it. I've been thinking about it, but I have not put pen to paper, so to speak.
Well, TikTok, summer's going by, Roger.
Yeah, I did do that. I did start my own TikTok. So I'm on, which much to the chagrin of my teenagers, because I'll come up in their feeds, I do a lot of behavioral marketing tips on TikTok and on Instagram, where it's like 1 minute little, pieces of behavioral economic wisdom. But yeah, my kids will see that and they like roll their eyes.
Right. Well, that's kind of feeds into my next question. What's advice you'd give to someone who's starting out? Right. I mean, you're right. You have these little one minute clips here and there, these reels and stuff, but somebody who's looking for similar success, maybe in the marketing industry.
Oh, my patented answer is probably not super helpful, but I've always told people, like, pick an airline reward program and stick with it. Because if someone told me in the beginning I'd be doing the amount of travel that I'm doing, I think about the first 5 to 8 years of my career, I was bouncing back and forth on all different kinds of airlines. I lost out on so many free trips and so many points. It seems somewhat trivial, but there's a truth there. It's like pick a rewards program and stick with it 90% of the time, if you can really do that. No, that's the joke kind of answer with some truth in it. Because I've had to mentor a lot of people, I've given them all this actual same piece of advice, and I hinted to it a little bit earlier. Working hard is far more important than talent. And when you can outpace somebody else, when you can outwork somebody else, you will find you will go much further in your career. I've met lots of people who are far, far more talented than I am, but they only took ideas so far, and they relied on their talent as opposed to their work ethic. And so having a really great work ethic, that would get you really far.
Right. Great advice. Thank you. I appreciate it. I learned that one not super early on, but people I knew early on had a lot of talent, and then I got to watch them not use it.
Yeah, I know. It's sad.
Time.
Yeah, it's really, really sad.
Yeah, it's the unrecognized potential, I think, is very sad.
Yeah, it is. It is amazing how many people, if they just put in the extra effort, how much more beneficial that will be.
Right. So for our listeners who want to learn more about you, find your book or connect, where can they find all that?
Super easy. It's just at Roger Hurni. So ROGERHURNI. That's my LinkedIn. That's my Instagram. That's my TikTok. That's my website. You can buy the book there. You can buy the book on Amazon. Outthink, Outperform. Google my name. Type in the book name. You're gonna get me somehow.
Excellent. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you, Roger, for joining me today. We appreciate you sharing your stories and your insights into success and impact in Phoenix and in marketing. Thank you.
Well, it's been an honor to be on the show. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Inspired by our guests? Visit PhoenixProsperityPodcast.com/guest and join us on the show and share your success story with Tim. The spotlight awaits.